The notification popped up on my phone at 2 a.m. Assignment submitted successfully. My blood ran cold. I hadn't submitted anything. My hands shook as I logged into the university portal, and there it was, my senior thesis, the one I'd been working on for 8 months, replaced with a blank document titled, I give up. Let me back up. My name is Jack, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had the perfect life. I was finishing my engineering degree, had a beautiful girlfriend named Jenny, who I'd been with for 2 years, and was about to land my dream job at a tech startup. But there was one person who would systematically destroy everything I'd built. Chelsea, Jenny's best friend since high school. Chelsea had always been intense. The first time I met her, she hugged me a little too long, stared a little too intently. Jenny laughed it off. That's just Chelsea being Chelsea, she'd say. She's protective of me. But I saw something different in those calculating green eyes, something that made my skin crawl. It started small. Chelsea would accidentally spill drinks on me at parties, forcing me to change shirts. She'd show up unannounced when Jenny and I had date nights, claiming emergencies that mysteriously resolved themselves the moment she had Jenny's attention. She'd make little comments about how I wasn't good enough for Jenny, always disguised as jokes, always with that saccharine smile. But that night with my thesis, that was when the gloves came off. See, that assignment wasn't just about grades. My grandmother, who raised me after my parents died in a car accident, was dying of cancer. She'd never finished college herself, and her dying wish was to see me graduate. I'd promised her I'd dedicate my thesis to her memory. She passed away 2 weeks before the submission deadline, and finishing that thesis was my way of honoring her. The morning after the blank submission, I frantically called my professor. He was sympathetic but firm. The submission system was final. No late submissions, no exceptions. It was departmental policy. I'd have to retake the entire course next year, delaying my graduation. The job offer I had lined up, gone. They needed someone who could start immediately. I knew it was Chelsea. She was the only other person who knew my laptop password. I'd given it to her once when she needed to print something at my apartment, but proving it, that was another story. When I told Jenny what happened, she was devastated for me. She held me while I cried, actually cried, for the first time since my grandmother's funeral. We'll figure this out, she whispered, stroking my hair. There has to be something we can do. But when I suggested Chelsea might be involved, Jenny's entire demeanor changed. Her body stiffened, and she pulled away from me. Jack, that's insane. Chelsea would never do something like that. She's my best friend. But she was here last night, I insisted. She came by to borrow your sweater while you were at work. She had access to my laptop. So did I, Jenny said coldly. So did your roommate. So did anyone who's ever been in your apartment. Why would you immediately blame Chelsea? I wanted to tell her about all the little things, the way Chelsea looked at me when Jenny wasn't watching, the inappropriate comments she'd make when drunk, the time I caught her going through my phone. But I knew how it would sound. Paranoid. Jealous. Controlling. That night, Chelsea came over to comfort us about my thesis situation. She brought wine and tissues, playing the perfect supportive friend. Oh, Jack, she cooed, her hand lingering on my shoulder a beat too long. This is just horrible. If there's anything I can do. I watched her performance with growing rage. She was good, really good. The concern in her voice sounded genuine. The tears in her eyes looked real. If I didn't know better, I'd believe her myself. After she left, Jenny turned to me. See, she's trying to help. You need to apologize for accusing her. Apologize? Jenny, she destroyed my future. You don't know that, Jenny shouted. It was the first time she'd ever raised her voice at me. You have no proof. You're just looking for someone to blame because you're hurting. We went to bed angry that night, sleeping on opposite sides of the bed with a chasm between us. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about my grandmother, about the promise I'd broken, about the job I'd lost, and somewhere across town, I knew Chelsea was probably smiling. The next day, things got worse. Screenshots started circulating in our friend group, screenshots of messages supposedly from me to some girl named Ashley, talking about how Jenny was getting clingy and how I was thinking about exploring my options. The messages were fake, of course. I'd never even heard of an Ashley. But they looked real, really real. Jenny confronted me at Mike's party that weekend. I'd gone alone because she said she needed space to think about our relationship. The moment I walked in, I could feel the tension. People were whispering, looking at me with disgust or pity. Then Jenny appeared, Chelsea right behind her like a shadow. How could you? Jenny's voice cracked, tears streaming down her face. She shoved her phone in my face. More screenshots. These showed me supposedly making plans to meet up with Ashley at this very party. Jenny, these are fake! I don't even know an Ashley! I looked around desperately. Is there even an Ashley here? She left when she heard Jenny was coming. Chelsea interjected smoothly. I saw her. Blonde girl, blue dress. She practically ran out when someone mentioned Jenny's name. It was brilliant, really. Create a fictional person, fake the messages, then claim she fled. No way to prove she never existed. I looked at Chelsea, and for just a moment, her mask slipped. She smirked at me, a tiny, triumphant smirk that Jenny couldn't see. I need to talk to you alone, I told Jenny, reaching for her hand. She jerked away. Don't touch me! God, Jack, I trusted you. I defended you about the thesis thing, and this is how you repay me? The thesis thing? Jenny, these are connected. Can't you see what's happening here? What's happening, Chelsea said loudly, making sure everyone could hear, is that you're a cheater who got caught and now you're trying to gaslight your girlfriend by blaming her best friend. It's actually textbook manipulation. People were recording now. Great. My humiliation would be on Instagram within the hour. I tried once more. Jenny, please, let's go somewhere private and talk about this. Look at the screenshots carefully. Check the metadata. Something. They're fake. Jenny wavered for a moment, and I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. Then Chelsea whispered something in her ear, and Jenny's face hardened again. I'm staying at Chelsea's tonight, she announced. We're done talking. As they left, Chelsea looked back at me. This time, she didn't hide her smile. She'd won this round, and we both knew it. I spent the rest of the night trying to prove the screenshots were fake. My computer science friends helped me analyze them. We found inconsistencies, fonts that were slightly off, timestamps that didn't match my actual phone activity. But when I tried to show Jenny the evidence the next day, Chelsea had a counter for everything. Of course he'd doctor evidence to make it look fake, she told Jenny. He's literally a computer engineering major. He knows how to manipulate this stuff. The psychological warfare escalated over the next 2 weeks. Chelsea was always there, always in Jenny's ear, always 2 steps ahead of me. When I tried to surprise Jenny with flowers at her work, Chelsea had already told her I was probably love-bombing her to manipulate her into forgiving me. When I wrote Jenny a heartfelt letter explaining everything, Chelsea convinced her it was performative vulnerability designed to make her feel guilty. But Chelsea made a mistake. She got cocky. It happened on a Thursday evening. Jenny was supposed to be at her sister's baby shower, and I was home trying to salvage what was left of my academic career. There was a knock at my door. It was Chelsea, wearing a dress that left very little to the imagination. "Jenny's not here," I said, not opening the door more than a crack. "I know," she purred. "I came to see you." Every instinct screamed at me to slam the door, but I realized this might be my only chance to get evidence. I pulled out my phone, started recording, and slipped it into my pocket. "What do you want, Chelsea?" She pushed past me into my apartment. "You know, Jack, this whole thing could go away. The screenshots, the drama, all of it. Jenny doesn't have to know about any of it. There's nothing to know because none of it's real, and you know it." She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Reality is subjective, don't you think? What matters is what Jenny believes. And right now, she believes you're a cheater who's trying to turn her against her best friend. Why are you doing this?" She moved closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume, the same one Jenny wore. It made my stomach turn. "Because I've been in love with you since the moment we met," she whispered. "And if I can't have you, she can't either." I stepped back. "You're insane." "No, I'm determined. There's a difference." She traced a finger down my chest. "Think about it, Jack. I'm offering you an out. Be with me, and I'll tell Jenny it was all a misunderstanding. I'll say I was wrong about Ashley, that I was just being overprotective. She'll take you back if I vouch for you. And if I say no?" Her eyes went cold. "Then I'll destroy both of you. I'll make sure Jenny never trusts another man again. And you, well, you've already lost your degree and your job. How much more do you think you can lose?" I pulled out my phone, showing her it was recording. "Everything you just said is on here." For the first time since I'd known her, I saw real fear flash across Chelsea's face. Then, quick as lightning, she grabbed my phone and threw it against the wall. It shattered into pieces. "Oops," she said sweetly. "Butterfingers." But I was already backing toward my laptop, which had been recording from my desk the entire time, something she hadn't noticed. "It's all on video, Chelsea. Your confession, your threats, everything." She lunged for the laptop, but I was faster. I grabbed it and held it above my head. "Get out of my apartment, now." "You wouldn't dare show that to Jenny," she hissed. "It would destroy her to know her best friend betrayed her like this. You claim to love her, then you'll protect her from this truth." She had a point, and she knew it. Showing Jenny would devastate her, but not showing her meant letting Chelsea win. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "You're going to tell Jenny the truth about everything, the thesis, the fake screenshots, all of it, or I show her this video." Chelsea laughed bitterly. "She'll never believe you. I'll tell her you forced me to say those things, that you threatened me. Who do you think she'll believe? Her boyfriend of 2 years or her best friend of 10? She left then, slamming the door behind her. I sat on my couch, laptop clutched to my chest, trying to figure out my next move. I had the evidence, but Chelsea was right. Showing it to Jenny would destroy her. Her best friend, the person she trusted most in the world, had been sabotaging her relationship out of some sick obsession. I decided to try one more time to talk to Jenny without the video. I texted her, asking her to meet me at our favorite coffee shop, Neutral Ground. To my surprise, she agreed. She looked tired when she walked in, dark circles under her eyes. She'd lost weight. Despite everything, my heart ached seeing her like this. "I miss you," I said before I could stop myself. "I miss you too," she admitted quietly. "But I don't know if I can trust you again. Jenny, I need you to really think about this. Have I ever given you any reason to doubt me before all this started? Have I ever lied to you? Ever been unfaithful? Ever done anything to hurt you?" She shook her head slowly. "No. But, and when did all these problems start?" "Right after Chelsea started spending more time with us. Don't you think that's strange?" Jenny was quiet for a long moment, stirring her coffee. "Chelsea showed me more screenshots yesterday," she finally said. "Messages between you and her where you apparently confessed to deleting your own thesis for attention, trying to frame her for it." I felt my heart sink. Chelsea was still 3 steps ahead. "Jenny, think about that logically. Why would I destroy my own future? My grandmother had just died. That thesis was dedicated to her." "I know," Jenny whispered, tears forming in her eyes. "None of it makes sense. I feel like I'm going crazy. My boyfriend and my best friend are telling me completely different stories, and I don't know who to believe anymore." This was my moment. I pulled out my backup phone. Yes, I'd learned to have backups after Chelsea's visit. "I have something to show you. But before I do, I need you to know that this is going to hurt a lot, and I'm sorry for that." Jenny's face went pale. "What is it?" "Just watch." I played the video. I watched Jenny's face transform as she heard Chelsea's confession. Shock, disbelief, horror, and finally, a devastating understanding. When Chelsea's voice said, "I've been in love with you since the moment we met," Jenny's hand flew to her mouth. "No," she whispered. No, this can't be real." I'm so sorry, Jenny. I didn't want you to find out this way. But instead of the anger at Chelsea I expected, Jenny turned on me. You recorded her without her consent? You set her up? What? Jenny! She came to my apartment to seduce me. She confessed to everything. Or maybe you manipulated her into saying what you wanted. Maybe you threatened her. Jenny was standing now, shaking. I don't know what's real anymore. My best friend, the person I've trusted since I was 15, or my boyfriend who's now showing me secret recordings. Jenny, please. I need space, she said, grabbing her purse. From both of you. I can't do this anymore. She left me sitting there, the video still playing on loop, Chelsea's smirking face frozen on the screen. Even with concrete evidence, I was still losing. That night, Jenny called me crying. She'd confronted Chelsea about the video, and Chelsea, master manipulator that she was, had broken down sobbing, claiming I'd forced her to say those things, that I'd threatened to hurt myself if she didn't confess to crimes she didn't commit. She even showed Jenny fake texts from me. How did she keep making these? Threatening suicide if Chelsea didn't comply with my demands. She showed me your messages, Jack, Jenny sobbed over the phone. Messages about how you'd kill yourself if I left you, how you'd make sure I blamed myself forever. How could you use your grandmother's death to manipulate me like this? I felt like I was drowning. Jenny, I never sent those messages. You know I would never. I don't know anything anymore, she screamed. My whole world is falling apart. The two people I love most are destroying each other, and I'm caught in the middle. Wait, the two people you love most? I echoed. There was silence on the other end. Then, quietly, not like that. Chelsea's like a sister to me. But something in her voice made me wonder. Was there more to Jenny and Chelsea's relationship than I knew? Had Chelsea been playing an even longer game than I realized? Jenny? Has she ever expressed feelings for you? The silence stretched longer this time. Once, Jenny finally admitted. In college. She was drunk and told me she loved me, but she said she was confused, that she didn't mean it that way. We never talked about it again. The pieces were falling into place. Chelsea wasn't just in love with me, she was in love with Jenny, and if she couldn't have Jenny, she'd destroy anyone who could. Jenny, don't you see? She's been sabotaging your relationships for years, hasn't she? Think about it, really think. How many boyfriends have you had that Chelsea approved of? More silence. Then, none. She always found something wrong with them, always had a reason why they weren't good enough. And I lasted longer than the others, didn't I? That's why she had to escalate. The little manipulations weren't working anymore. I could hear Jenny crying harder now. I can't process this. If what you're saying is true, then my entire friendship with Chelsea has been a lie. 10 years, Jack. 10 years of my life. I know, baby. I know. But we can get through this together. No, she cut me off. No, we can't. Because even if everything you're saying is true, even if Chelsea orchestrated all of this, it worked. I don't trust you anymore. Every time I look at you, I'm going to wonder what's real and what's not. The damage is done. My heart shattered. Jenny, please, don't let her win. She already has, Jenny whispered. We're over, Jack. I'm moving back to my parents' house for a while. I need to figure out who I am without either of you. The next few days were the darkest of my life. I'd lost everything. My degree, my job prospects, and now the woman I loved. Chelsea had won, even with her schemes exposed. The genius of her plan was that even revealing the truth caused destruction. But then something unexpected happened. Jenny's sister, Maria, called me. Jack, I know Jenny doesn't want to talk to you, but I need to show you something. We met at a diner across town. Maria had never liked Chelsea, always said there was something off about her. Now she slid a folder across the table to me. I did some digging after Jenny told me everything, she said. Chelsea has done this before. Inside the folder were social media posts, old yearbook photos, and printed emails. 3 different women, all former friends of Chelsea's, all with eerily similar stories. Chelsea would become obsessed with them, sabotage their relationships, and when finally exposed, would play the victim so convincingly that she'd walk away with minimal consequences while leaving destruction in her wake. This is proof of a pattern, I said, scanning the documents. This could help Jenny see. Jenny already knows, Maria interrupted. I showed her yesterday. She broke down completely. She's been friends with a sociopath for a decade and never knew it. Is she okay? Maria shook her head. She's devastated. She found out Chelsea has been lying about everything, her family situation, her job, even some traumatic events that Jenny supported her through. All fabricated to create emotional bonds. I need to see her. She specifically asked me to tell you not to come. She's not ready. She says seeing you makes it all too real, too painful. She needs time to process losing both of you. But I didn't do anything wrong. Maria looked at me sympathetically. I know that. Jenny knows that, deep down. But trauma doesn't care about logic. Every time she sees you, she's reminded of the betrayal, the manipulation, the complete destruction of her reality, your collateral damage in Chelsea's war. I went home and called my professor again, begging for another chance. He was sympathetic but firm. Rules were rules. However, he did mention that if I could prove someone else had sabotaged my submission, there might be grounds for an appeal. That gave me an idea. I still had the video of Chelsea's confession, combined with Maria's folder of evidence showing a pattern of behavior. Maybe I could build a case. Not just for my academic appeal, but potentially for a restraining order. I threw myself into building the case. I reached out to Chelsea's previous victims, carefully, through Maria, to avoid any appearance of harassment. 2 of them agreed to provide statements. Their stories were chillingly similar to mine. One woman, Sarah, told me how Chelsea had convinced her that her fiancé was cheating, even hiring someone to flirt with him at a bar and take compromising photos. The engagement ended, and Chelsea was there to comfort Sarah. Until Sarah realized the truth. By then, the fiancé had moved on, and the damage was irreversible. Another, Amanda, described how Chelsea had sabotaged her graduate school applications, then played the supportive friend when she didn't get in anywhere. It was only years later that Amanda discovered Chelsea had been intercepting her emails and declining offers on her behalf. Armed with this evidence, I filed my academic appeal. The review board was shocked by the extent of the manipulation. They'd never seen anything like it. While they couldn't restore my original submission date, they did allow me to submit my completed thesis for partial credit, enough to graduate, though not with the honors I'd worked for. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. The tech startup that had withdrawn their offer even reached out, saying they'd heard about my situation through a mutual connection and wanted to give me another chance. Things were looking up, but I still didn't have Jenny. Maria kept me updated. Jenny had cut Chelsea out of her life completely, filed a restraining order, and was in therapy dealing with the trauma. She was slowly rebuilding, but the process was painful. Then, exactly 2 months after our breakup, Jenny called me. "Can we talk?" Her voice was small, uncertain. We met at the same coffee shop where I'd shown her the video. She looked healthier, like she'd been taking care of herself, but there was a sadness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. "I'm sorry," she said immediately, "for not believing you, for choosing her, for everything. You don't need to apologize. You were manipulated by someone you trusted. But I should have trusted you more. You were my boyfriend. You loved me, and I threw it away because I couldn't see what was right in front of me." We talked for hours. About Chelsea, about the trauma, about the therapy she was doing. She told me how she'd discovered more lies. Chelsea had been intercepting my texts, deleting some and editing others before Jenny saw them. She'd been slowly poisoning the well for months before making her big move. "I want to try again," Jenny said finally, "if you'll have me, but I understand if you can't. I hurt you badly, even if I was being manipulated." I wanted to say yes immediately. Every fiber of my being wanted to pull her into my arms and pretend the last 2 months hadn't happened, but I couldn't. "I love you, Jenny," I said carefully. "I never stopped. But you were right before. The damage is done. Every time something goes wrong, are you going to wonder if I'm manipulating you? Every time I'm upset about something, are you going to think I'm lying? Can you honestly say you trust me?" Jenny's eyes filled with tears. "I want to trust you. I'm working on it in therapy. Dr. Kim says trust can be rebuilt, but it takes time and effort from both people." "And what about me?" I asked. "How do I trust that you won't abandon me again the next time someone whispers in your ear? How do I know that you'll have my back when things get hard?" It was Jenny's turn to look hurt, but she nodded. "That's fair. I betrayed you too, in a way. I chose her over you when you needed me most." We sat in silence for a while, both processing the weight of what we'd lost. The easy love we'd had was gone, replaced by something complicated and painful. "Maybe," I said slowly, "we could start over. Not pick up where we left off, but actually start fresh. Date each other like we're new people. Because in a way, we are." This experience changed both of us. Jenny's face lit up slightly. "Like a second first date?" "Exactly. We take it slow, rebuild from the ground up. And we both commit to therapy, individual and maybe couples eventually. We learn to communicate better, to trust but verify, to protect our relationship from outside manipulation." "I'd like that," Jenny said softly. "But Jack, what about Chelsea? She's still out there. The restraining order is just paper. What if she tries something else?" As if summoned by her name, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number, but I recognized the writing style immediately. "You think you've won, but this isn't over. She was mine first, and she'll be mine again." I showed Jenny the message. Instead of fear, I saw determination harden her features. "Let her try," Jenny said. "I know who she is now. We both do. She has no power over us anymore." We reported the text to the police, another violation of the restraining order. Chelsea was arrested that evening. It turned out she'd been violating restraining orders from 2 other victims as well. This time, she'd face real consequences. As for Jenny and me, we did start over. Our second first date was awkward and beautiful. We talked about everything except Chelsea. We laughed, we connected, and for a few hours, we remembered why we'd fallen in love in the first place. It's been 6 months now. We're taking it slow, still in therapy, still rebuilding. Trust comes harder now, but perhaps it's stronger for being earned rather than given freely. We've learned to verify things, to communicate openly about our fears and insecurities, to protect our relationship like the precious, fragile thing it is. Chelsea is serving 18 months for harassment and stalking. Sometimes I wonder if she regrets it, if she realizes that her obsession cost everyone everything. But mostly, I try not to think about her at all. My grandmother used to say that the strongest trees are those that survive the storm. Jenny and I survived our storm. We're scarred, we're different, but we're still standing. And maybe, just maybe, we're stronger for it. The thesis I finally submitted was different from the original, less polished, submitted late, but somehow more meaningful. It was titled Resilience in System Failures, Recovery and Redundancy in Critical Networks. My professor said it was some of my best work, informed by real-world experience. I dedicated it to my grandmother, as promised, but I also added a second dedication, to those who stand by truth, even when the world makes lies more comfortable. Jenny and I will never have the innocent, easy love we once shared. Chelsea took that from us. But what we're building now, carefully, deliberately, with full knowledge of how easily trust can shatter, might just be something better, something unbreakable. Not because it can't be broken, but because we know exactly how fragile it is, and we guard it accordingly.